book, A Brave New World, describes a dystopian world in which identical embryos are manipulated to take away certain traits and conditioned to a certain level of intelligence and strength. Despite this novel being science fiction, this type of designer baby technology could happen sooner than we think.
We're already there. Now, the type of designer babies that we have so far basically deal with doing gene editing to replace things that we know are bad, deleterious copies of genes. The technology to do this has been improved in a couple of countries, and certainly in China, this technology is being applied as we speak.
Today, ethical dilemmas about designer babies stem from the conflicting interests and rights and stakeholders, which include future parents and children, the science community, and perhaps society as a whole. According to the Embryo Project Encyclopedia, a designer baby is defined as a baby genetically engineered in vitro for specialty selected traits, which can vary from lower disease risk to gender selection. While the technology for advanced gene selection is still being developed, in vitro fertilization and sex selection are already in practice today. Current capabilities of genetic engineering also include selecting for or against certain traits. Pre-implantation genetic diagnosis allows embryos to be screened for various genetic traits and is commonly used in medicine when parents carry genes that place their children at risk for serious diseases, such as cystic fibrosis or sickle cell anemia. This technology has a potential for reduced disease and could provide a better quality of life for future babies. It can be argued that parents have a duty to provide for the best health of a child because that child has a right to be healthy. We spoke with agricultural economics professor Dr. Saikuda to learn more information about the stakeholders and the economic implications of a designer baby technology.
The science community would certainly have an interest in that. The medical profession would have an interest because it would change the likelihood of certain kinds of physical issues to the extent the technology actually is effective, which is going to change demand for what kind of medical disciplines people go into and the availability of medical resources, both human and physical assets. It's going to, there are the insurance industry, both on the medical side and the health or life side. If we can design babies that have particular attributes.
One troubling consequence is that designer babies could lead to economic divisions because only those of high socioeconomic status could afford this service, and they could select for babies that are more athletically inclined, taller, or more intelligent.
Well, I think there's a two-way street there, because only certain socioeconomic classes are going to be able to afford buying the technology, at least anytime in the near future.
Future capabilities could include multi-gene traits, including intelligence traits, height, hair, and eye color, as well as others. Many stakeholders are concerned that this is playing God and could lead to negative consequences. The human genome is extremely complex, and it is impossible to guarantee a certain outcome. The risk of worsening a child's life always exists, no matter how far the technology advances.
As a parent, the cost of actually having a child that would have some sort of genetic disorder is staggering. And it's already expensive to have kids, and if that could be avoided prior to having the children, it'd just be a higher quality of life for everyone involved.
Sometimes being taller may be better, while sometimes being more agile could be in your favor. A survey conducted by Johns Hopkins University involving 1,211 participants sums up the public opinion on genetic modification. 2/3 of the people surveyed were in favor of genetic modification if it allowed couples to have children free of serious genetic diseases. There was less support for alteration that could lead to unnecessary or uncertain outcomes, with 70% opposing interference with complex traits such as intelligence or strength.
Lots of ethical questions there, certainly. When you start putting things in the hands of other people for a for-profit motive, bad decisions can certainly be made. You're depending on really humans to do the right thing, and I think there's a long history of humans not always doing the right thing.
The technology has pushed forward under the guise that it will be used as a medical tool to better human life. Successful proof of concept trials have already taken place in China that show that we can correct for mutation in human zygotes. The potential to edit the human genome is coming to fruition, and the ethical dilemmas that surround the topic of designer babies need to be addressed.